guys, I'm Nina,
I'm Jamie.
I'm Ethan.
and we are Bloody Essentials. All right, guys, we are doing Infinity Pool this week, but before we get into it, just want to do a quick little reminder to please like, follow, subscribe. It really helps the channel so much, and your support really means a lot to us.
It's awesome. Thank you,
Definitely.
guys.
Thank you for those who already have subscribed. It really does help. So please keep doing it. Share the word. All right. So before we get started, have either of you guys seen this movie before we did it?
Absolutely not.
No, this was a first time watch for me. I was interested in seeing it, so I don't know how I haven't really got around to it yet, but yeah, this was a first time watch for me too.
I just looking at Ethan's face, I know Ethan, so I'm just like, uh-huh.
Ooh, this will be a fun one.
It was a unique movie.
Yeah. I saw this one in theaters when it first came out, and I was just excited because it was Brian Cronenberg. He'd done other movies, but I had never seen them before. And I love me a goth. I love me some Alexander Skarsgård.
Oh,
So of course I had to see it. And I wasn't sure how to feel about it the first time I watched it, and I still don't know how I feel about it after this watch. I think I just felt like kind of numb, as one does after this. I don't
It's a
know.
good way to describe it.
And I have particular things that really stick with me from the movie. I saw like 5 dongs. That was what sticks with me with the movie. There were some dongs in it. I'm just kidding. There were things that stick with me in this movie. There's a lot to unpack here, but it's got some body horror kind of like vibes to it, which I liked,
Yeah, it's
and I love
definitely
the
not.
actors.
Oh, me too. It's definitely different than David Cronenberg's work.
Mhm.
Still got some body horror, but it's more psychological, I think, than this one. So
Oh
it's,
yeah.
Definitely.
yeah, it's fun. Oh my gosh. All right, let's get on into it with plot points.
Okay, so I'm going to take us through the plot points. If I miss anything, just help me out here, okay?
Okay.
First of all, I have to say, I loved the font that came in. The font for this movie at the beginning was very,
Yeah,
very cool. I love me some font, so I just had to say how cool that it was. Okay.
for sure.
So we're introduced to this movie with a little bit of mystery. We get a little whispery, like kind of bed conversation, and then we're introduced to this like resort, in another country.
Very
Um,
weird dialogue that they have between the two of them at first,
Yeah.
right?
yeah, I wrote down one of the things, and like we don't even see anything on the screen yet. I think it's dark,
Yeah, just black.
and we just hear people talking, and she says, like, you can't feed yourself with white sand brain death.
Yeah, apparently he says that while he's sleeping.
Yes. So that's kind of how we come into the movie. And then we kind of like get introduced to the resort itself, and our characters. We have James and M,
Yeah.
and I will just say, we get the sense that they're not super happy.
What would ever give you that idea? They don't look like
Possibly
they
be
want to
because
be in the same room with each other.
could possibly be because she was a bitch. I
A
hated
little
her.
bit, a
Yeah,
little
hated
bit.
But
her.
he was kind of a douche too when she was like, "You want to go to the Chinese place?" And he was just like, "What kind of why would they have a Chinese place? This is in a real town." He was just kind of, I mean, they were both being shitty to each other, but
It was not a fun vibe from either of them.
No.
They're at a
yeah.
resort. It's like
It's
beachy
supposed to be
and
vacation.
it's supposed
Yeah.
to be fun. Like, where are the daiquiris or whatever, and just good vibes. Like, it's not what's going on with these people. I
Yeah.
really have to say I love like the masks too, because like we get a little introduction to those pretty quickly, and those are
They're
dope.
very creepy, yeah, and I also wanted to say the opening camera work, the cinematography at the beginning to show the resort off, it's very beautiful, and it's very I don't know, I wrote down discombobulating just because it's very confusing how they do it, I've never quite seen anything like it. Have you, Jamie? Like, you're really big on cinematography.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a name for that, but when you change like the plane of the change the whole plane of the scene basically like
Yeah.
that. And I really liked it was like very cool colors, like cool tone with this movie. So like it
Mhm.
had like a really crisp, nice look to it overall.
It
Cinematography
did.
is really cool in this.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So yeah, back to the masks really quick. They were like super creepy and probably one of my favorite parts of the movie, I have to
Yeah.
say.
Oh, same, for sure.
Yeah.
Like they're like distorted and they're kind of human, but they're kind of not. And I just have to say, really just love the design of those so much.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, we're kind of introduced to them. They're not having a great time. James ends up like going out and seeing this guy riding his bike around. And then we're introduced to Mia Goth, Gigi, right? Is her name? I think.
Gabby.
Yeah.
Gabby. I was so close. Okay. Gabby. All my notes say Gigi, so I'm gonna try really hard not to say Gigi and call
You
her
could just
Gigi.
call her Mia Goth.
I did for half of it, and then I changed it to Gigi. Okay. But I love that, their first introduction, like first thing she does is like touch his throat and like talks to him like about how the guy's gonna get him or whatever. But anyway, she just like immediately touches him. And it's like, ooh, there's something between these two. Keep watching. Um, let's see here. And then we kind of get this revealed too that James is a writer
Mhm.
and Gigi Mia is a fan of his work, and he's surprised because not too many people have read his book.
Because this book sucks, apparently.
Apparently, it does. It's called the something sheath, like the hidden sheath or something like
So
that.
stupid. Yeah,
Um,
apparently the book did not do very well, so he hasn't written in, like, 5 years or something.
yeah. So
And it was
obviously
his first
he's
book.
yeah he's flattered that a pretty gal has read his book because nobody like really has apparently. But anyway, next kind of plot point I went to is, so our couples, we have M and James, and we have, the other two, and they go on a little double date for dinner.
Did you guys notice that, I thought this was really funny, that Gabby invited him to the same Chinese restaurant his wife invited him to, and she was like,
Yeah.
he's like, "Yeah, sure."
I know.
He's fine with it now.
I know. And I have to say, I love like, man, Mia is like amazing when she does her whole like I'm an actress and they're like, what do you do? And she's like, I specialize in failing naturally. They're like, what does
And she
that
just
mean?
yeah, she tries to cut the bread with the butter knife. It's so adorable. Like, her face she's such a great actress.
I know. So she's just like there with the butter knife and she's like, I just can't. I need the bun cutter or whatever it's called. You just can't simply cut this with a knife. And it's so cute.
I don't know if I've actually heard Mia talk normally when she's not in character, but her voices, like, that she does for different characters, like, I've seen her in Suspiria, this movie, and then the Pearl and X movies, and she sounds very similar to Pearl almost in this film with the
Yeah.
high-pitched tone. I don't know. She does a really good job.
I know. I really like her. I like her voice too. Like, and she's beautiful and so cool. So she's definitely
Yeah.
a highlight in this movie. During that dinner, we learn a few more things. James hasn't been writing, like you said. And we kind of also learn that M is the money in this relationship too.
Yeah. Yeah, he, married her for her money, basically, is what we are assuming, so that's interesting, and, we also kinda get the idea M mentions that her dad is a owner of a publishing company, and we kinda get the idea that maybe his book only got published because of the fact that she's married to him, so that's
Yeah.
awkward.
Yeah, definitely an awkward moment there. And things get a little bit more awkward too, because then like they go dancing and it's Mia and James, and the other couple is kind of coupled up too. But I love the dancing because it's all colorful and they're all like staring at each other and
I just like the shot of, Albin, Gabby's husband, and, just sitting at the bar alone. Just, like, trying not to make it
oh,
awkward, but it really is, and yeah.
it really is. It really super is.
Yeah. It's a great scene though. I really like it. The use of color in this movie. It's really pretty.
Yeah, they use a lot of color in this. I feel like that's like our first little like kind of hint to it. It comes back in a big way. But yeah, I
Yeah.
love I love we'll
Sure
get there,
does.
folks.
Oh,
um
I wanted to make a note of this. I watched the uncut version. I don't think
oh.
there's a big difference from the other version, other than just like longer shots of the more intense scenes. So I saw
Oh.
some parts of Mia Goth I didn't think I'd ever see.
In this scene or in the later?
Later scenes.
Okay. No, it was I don't know if I was watching the uncut or the cut one, but I did note that like wow, this is a fairly long sequence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get there, but it's a pretty long sequence. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, they have their fun or whatever. So much fun that the couples decide to go on another double date, and they get this little
Yes.
car. And then we kind of like see that there's like this whole like they're outside of the resort. They're not even supposed to go out there, but anyway, they all get in this car and they go for a long drive, and they're gonna have another double date.
And you kind of, I don't know if it was just me, but the camera work around the cliffs on the beach and stuff around this different island, it's kind of gave me Coop what's his name? Oh my
Kubrick.
god. Kubrick, yeah. For some reason I wanted to say Kubrick. That's not right.
It's beautiful though.
It gave me Kubrick vibes from The Shining for sure. And yeah, they're not supposed to leave the resort. It's apparently a very poor country, and the locals tend to target foreigners that visit, so it
Yeah.
could potentially be life-threatening.
Of course, because Emma's like, I don't know about this, James. This seems like kind of a bad idea. And he's like, no, it's fine. The cute
Anything to
girl
hang
from the
out with
night.
Gabby. She
The
likes
cute
me for
girl's gonna
my
be there.
brain.
Yeah. So this is definitely not gonna go well. They drive, I feel like, for a really long time, first of all. I feel like they go
Just to
really
go to a
far away.
beach. Just to go to a beach.
They're
That's it.
surrounded by beach.
Yeah. I don't get it, but whatever.
Yeah, really long drive. They get out there, they find this little spot. And I have to say too, I noticed like when they park there to go to the beach, there's like a broken vehicle kind of like, did you guys notice that too?
Yeah. Yeah.
There were several, yeah.
Yeah.
I think just to drive the point home, it's a very poor country. Like the people that live here don't get time off to go to the beach, basically. So yeah.
Yes. And they're there, they're drinking, they're having a good time, they're making buffalo sausages because that sounds like awesome for a beach party with a fun new couple that we just met.
He's obsessed with his sausage.
And things continue to get interesting, because James goes to relieve himself and gets
Oh,
a
he
little
relieves himself.
he gets a little
He gets some
surprise.
assistance from Mia Goth to relieve himself again.
Yeah, you see things. You see like anyway.
It's so weird too, because you don't even see all of Mia Goth. You just see like from her like mouth down and like jerking motion. So it's
Yeah.
like, all right. There's no
Yeah.
talking. There's just
And then she just casually walks on back to the party, and he's like, "Oh boy." So then he walks back to the party. Okay, and then everybody's like super drunk.
yeah, and they
And
decide to drive like that.
in a foreign country, like on a windy road. Come on, guys.
I I don't know about you guys, but if I knew how dangerous the country was, like I would have been back before nightfall. That's just me.
I've traveled out of the country many, many times. Don't leave the resort. Just stay there.
Yeah.
Just stay there.
Yeah.
Seriously, bad judgment all around. All around. It's a horrible
Well,
idea.
Yeah.
it's bad judgment on 2 out of 4. The other 2 know
Yeah.
exactly what the fuck they're doing. So
It's
yeah.
true. All will be revealed too. But yeah, so James, takes the wheel. It's dark. He's drunk. Everybody else is kind of sleeping, and like the lights on the vehicle stop kind of working.
Yeah.
And then he hits a dude who's crossing the street, and it's pretty gnarly.
Yeah, it's brutal because the guy's still kind of alive at first after he hits him. So yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, his face is like super like smashed, and yeah, they're kind of like, oh fuck, like what do we do in this situation?
Yeah,
It's
and
like,
Gabby kind of takes charge.
of course she does, and obviously they're not going to tell the cops, obviously.
Gabby's just like she's trying to reason with M. She's just like, this we're in a foreign country, you're going to get raped by the police and they'll find your body the next day, like
Yeah.
dumped on the side of the road. Like, we're not going to the police, basically. So they're just like, get back in the car, we're going back to the resort. I'll explain it to the guy who we rented the car from, and we're gonna act like nothing happened, basically.
And that's what they do. They come back, they go back into the resort and everything, and then James and M get a little visit from the local authorities. So yeah, the police pick them up, and they go to this kind of bleak police facility, and James and M are separated, and we have this like lovely conversation with the detective. I think he's the brother of the guy they borrowed the car from, right? Something like that.
I believe it's
Yeah.
either the brother. Yeah, I think it's the brother. They have the same last name.
Yeah, something, they're related somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, he basically is telling James like, "Hey, you know what? The way that we handle things here, if you kill a man, their youngest son gets to kill you. Thankfully, because if he didn't have sons, we would take care of it for you. But he does, he's got a 13-year-old son.
So
So
no worries there, basically, is what he says.
and you're like, oh shit, that's okay.
Yeah. And James is just like, he just woke up an hour ago and he's just like, what? Like,
Yeah. Huh?
yeah. And the investigator guy also, he's like, we're not going to talk about where you got the car from because it's his brother. So he doesn't want his brother to get in trouble, obviously. So, because they're not even supposed to leave the resort, his brother could probably get fired. So
Yeah. And
they,
I love, go ahead.
oh, I was just going to say they basically agree that he's going to admit that they stole the car.
Yeah. And I love that he asks him, like, what's that going to do for me? And the guy's
Yeah.
like, nothing. I'd appreciate it.
Right.
I would just appreciate it, but nah, you're kind of screwed. It's not going to help you.
You're gonna die either way. So
Yeah, you're kind of screwed. So
Yeah.
but then of course we get like, the crux of the movie kind of, where he basically starts to explain that, because of like their tourism initiative and everything, we can actually we can make a double of you to stand in your place when you get executed. And it's like,
Yeah. And
what?
the double dies instead of you, supposedly. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, what?
Yeah. And he's just like handed some paperwork and he's like, Sign. Like, you don't have a choice. Do you want to die or do you want to sign?" Like, that's the option.
Yeah. So obviously he says, "Sure, I'll do it." And yeah, then this cloning sequence. I have to say I'm like a dental stuff freaks me out so much. So like the fact that he has like one of those things in that keeps your mouth open, that was so
See,
creepy.
to me, it would have been creepy if they'd used actual dental things, but I've seen this particular thing in a game where you're
yes.
supposed to try to talk with it in your mouth. So it was funny to me when I saw it.
Oh my god.
Because, like, you're supposed to say a word and the other person's supposed to guess with the thing in your mouth like that. So,
Really?
yeah, it's an actual great game, and the piece looks exactly like it. So when I first saw it, I was laughing
Oh my
because I
god.
had just recently played the game with some friends.
Oh my god. I don't think I
Yeah.
like that game. I'm just gonna put it out there. It makes me think of the dentist, like when they put that thing in there
I
and
know.
oh, you
I
can't
I
close
wish
your
they had
mouth.
actually used dentist equipment instead because it kind of brought me out of the movie a little bit, but yeah, I don't like anything with teeth or eyes, like yeah, so when I see that, I'm just like, "Ugh."
I know. And it's like it's wild because like, they put him in this room and he's got the thing in, he's got like a cap on, and there's like all this like goo, like
Red goo, yeah.
red goo that he steps
And it
into.
already kinda looks like blood almost, so it's like,
Mm.
yeah, yeah.
And then they bring in like more goo, but like a black goo
Cool.
like comes in. All the colors of goo are required to make a clone of somebody. But yeah, it's like then the lights like are crazy again and the colors and he sees like things. It's very hallucinatory experience here.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys saw it in your version or not, but, he saw some naked Gabby dancing, and that's when I got
Mhm.
some images of Mia that I didn't think I'd see.
Okay, we watched the same version then for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay, okay,
Yeah, we all
yeah.
watched that one. Okay.
I gotta
Um,
ask, because we're never gonna be in this situation, hopefully, would you guys sign the paper?
I mean, I guess I would because it's like, what else would you do in the situation? Get executed by a 13-year-old boy? Or, yeah, I don't know. What
It's
would you
tricky.
do?
Yeah,
I
I'm gonna have to sign.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I don't want to die.
I think I'd sign. Yeah, if I had the money, I'd probably just sign because I think we would all just be in such shock that this is even an option, like he was. But
Yeah.
yeah, then there's the whole theory later on of did you die or did your double die?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Because the investigator guy is like, the clone will have the exact same memories as you do. So it's
Yeah.
like, first off, that seems awfully like a lot of work if you're just about to kill them.
Right.
But I mean, I get
Mhm.
it, like, you're wanting them to understand why they're dying, but, like, that's a lot of work.
I know. It's a lot of work considering that this is just like a, one night just kind of event for this family of this guy who was killed. But yeah, it is a
Yeah,
lot of work. It's very theatrical, honestly.
quite theatrical, yeah.
So much theatrics with their law enforcement in this place.
Yeah.
And the actual like, man, so the actual reveal too when he like sees the double for the first time is awesome because he's in this like kind of like red cocoon and then he opens his eyes and and it's
Wow.
cool.
It's very creepy, yeah. It's like he's stuck in a wax mold almost.
Yeah. And it's like it's so freaky because he's like looking at himself, this like perfect image of himself. And it's like, okay, and this actually happened. So I'm cloned and now they're gonna kill this thing, and oh, we have to watch it. And then we have that whole clone death, double death.
Yeah, and M is with him when he watches it, and M is horrified, she can't look, and James is not horrified.
He smiles a
James
little
kinda
bit.
smiles,
Yeah.
yeah. Also, this 13-year-old kid is very willing to just kill for the first time, we assume, and,
Yeah.
he's creepy looking.
Yes.
The whole thing is wild. They have like the double up there and he's crying for M, he's screaming, and like, man, it'd be so hard to watch. Like, I think almost like harder for M because he's like calling out for her, but it'd be hard to watch yourself in that situation. I wouldn't want to see my clone self in that situation. And yeah, the
I
boy
feel
just
like
like
yeah.
stabs and stabs and there's blood and
Yeah, I mean, I guess I get it because they imply that a lot of the locals hate the tourists, obviously, for what they're doing to their country. So, yeah, it's scary, but yeah, God, I can't even imagine. And the family is watching too as their son does this. So that's horrifying on both sides, I think.
yeah, the whole thing is pretty brutal. The whole thing's pretty brutal, but yeah, it'd
Yeah.
be hard it'd be hard to watch your double in that situation, I feel like.
Yeah.
But anyway, they everybody returns to the resort. Everybody's okay. Kind of, he has his like urn. They give him an urn of the remains too, which is really interesting. And James kind of like loves it. Like he feels, you can tell that like something about this was like good for him.
Yeah. Again, the whole process, like, can you imagine how long it takes to cremate a body? I mean, I know morticians, but I wish I could have asked before this how long it takes to cremate a body because they've already been there for a while.
Yeah,
Like, so, I mean,
it's
we
a
don't even know how long the cloning process takes. So, yeah,
yeah, it's a whole process that they're in for sure.
yeah,
But yeah, Em really wants to leave. Obviously, I would too.
yeah.
But James can't find his passport, so
That's convenient.
can't
Awfully
find.
convenient.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Um, let's see. And then, James like runs into our girl Mia again. I keep wanting to call her Gigi. I'm so sorry, guys. Gabby.
Gabby.
Anyway, and because I love clothes, I have to say that Gabby's little like black dress kind of thing she was wearing was amazing. It had like pearls on the back and buttons and a
Very
little pearl
pretty.
necklace. It was amazing. Just had to
Yeah.
mention it.
I liked the dress that she wore to the beach. The pink little day dress. It was really cute.
She wears great stuff in this.
Yeah.
But she basically reveals to James that they understand all about this doubling thing because it's happened to them. Big surprise. And it's like, let me introduce you to some other people who've been doubled before, and they call themselves zombies.
I just called them the group from this point on.
Yeah.
Unless they did something specific, I'm just like the group. Because none of the rest of them really stood out quite like Gabby did, and her husband kind of blends into the background after this, so I just called them the group. Gabby and the
Yes.
group.
Yeah, so it's this whole group of like a little group of people who have all been doubled before, and they're kind of explaining to him like, well, we like it, like it's
It's
kind of
exhilarating,
cool.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
feels great. You look great, like it's a spa treatment or something.
So absurd.
You are looking
Ethan,
glowing.
yeah, I think Mia says like, "I see something different about you in your eyes," which I think is funny. Because M says the same thing, but obviously they mean two very different things. Ethan, how are you feeling at this point in the movie when you were watching?
I was like, what the hell am I watching? What's going on here? I was like, I am so friggin' confused. Of course, it was like 6:30 in the morning when I was watching it. So I was like, maybe that has something to do with it. So, but
Doesn't
no, I was
know.
still confused. No.
Yeah, I've seen it like 2 or 3 times now, and I can't bring myself to watch it any more than that. I'm just like, I just feel gross.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just feel like I need like several showers. I need to scrub myself really good, and yeah. Yeah.
It's
I
definitely
was
one of
really
those.
yeah. And after this I was just like, I don't know how to feel about Mia right now. Yeah.
I'm kind of scared of you right now, lady.
Yeah. We'll get to that. We haven't even unleashed the real crazy.
Right.
I know we really haven't. But yeah, they're kind of like a debaucherous group. They're like, "Woo, let's get crazy and go commit crimes and shit." And so they're like, "Hey, you can't find your passport. We'll help you out if you play a little game with us. We're just gonna break into this person's house. Oh yeah, the person who is the
Owns the
reason."
resort. Yeah.
Yeah, is the whole reason that they got, or Albin or whatever got doubled and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're like, let's go do that. Let's go break into this guy's house and steal his metal. Have a little fun.
Yeah. And this is also when they first introduced the whole "do you worry if they killed the real James" whole thing,
Hmm.
and I don't know. What do you think? Do you think they killed James during the first process or no?
Man, I was trying to decide that before we hopped on because I was like, I don't know. Was it him? Was it not him? I like to think at least that it was his clone that first time, but
Hmm.
like he's changing because of the process, but he is actually changing like who
Right.
he is. I think it's him.
Yeah,
I
I
agree.
agree. I think the first time, it's definitely the clone that dies,
Mhm.
and I'll get into why I think that, here shortly. But I mean, the whole point of the movie is more about the whole process of changing
Yeah.
and rebirth and becoming someone new
Yep.
based off your life experiences, really. And I think people shouldn't get too hung up on the whole is he or isn't he the clone because this isn't Blade Runner.
Right?
Wrong movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that if you're more focused on that than you are the whole he's changing from the beginning, he's very different from the beginning to the end, like, that's more the point of the movie than it
Totally.
is he or
See,
isn't he,
and
so
I didn't even think he was changing.
yeah,
I
exactly.
just thought it was bringing to light who he really was.
Good
You
point.
know,
Exactly.
it's not
Yeah.
like, oh my God, this happened to me and it's life altering and changing. This happened to me, so I'm going to let my inner freak fly. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
And then
Um,
he realizes the consequences of that
right.
ultimately, I think, so
yeah, and I mean, he's in a place where like he's kind of trying to find himself a little bit. I get the sense
Hmm.
of because like he hasn't written in years. That wasn't really successful for him. Like
and
his
that's all he wanted to do initially, so
yeah.
he doesn't know what to do now.
Yeah, and I mean, his marriage is kind of unsuccessful. You know, his father-in-law does not like him. Probably judges him for the lack of success of his book. You know, his wife is like, "Well, I feel like I'm a charitable organization right now because
Right.
Yeah.
you know." So he's like, and he even says, "I'm trying to find inspiration." So he gets inspiration for sure.
Oh,
He
yeah.
does. I think he has a tendency to lean more into women that are domineering in his life
Yeah.
and just allow them to control him basically. And as we see with him and Gabby, I mean, he's sometimes is okay with it, but I think a lot of the time he's not. I feel like, he loses his sense of purpose when he's in those types of relationships. So, I think that his time with Gabby kind of helps him realize that about
Oh, yeah.
himself. So,
Totally. Yeah.
yeah.
Whew. What a journey. What a journey, man.
What a journey indeed. Man, toxic relationships, guys.
Yeah, I know, right? Man, the things you have to do to like grow and gain inspiration and everything, I guess, right?
Let's get
Anyway.
into some of the things he has to do. God.
Yeah, so yeah, I have to say I love that they get the masks back to the masks, right? And I love how they
Yeah.
show each one of them like in a mask. And it's like before they go over there. I
And
like
they
it.
each kind of resemble themselves a little bit. Like
Yeah.
Mia very much resembles her. And Alex, like it's so creepy looking.
I know. I think even one of the ladies, one of the other people in the group, even like hands it to him and says, "Oh, look it, it's like perfect. It's you or
Right.
whatever."
Yeah.
And Mia's is my favorite. I thought it was really,
Yeah.
really cool.
It's got some
Um,
bold colors on it, and I thought that it kinda reminded me a little bit of her character in Pearl. Just the bright
yeah,
colors, yeah.
totally.
Can I just give a side note about one of the masks? The
Yeah.
Please.
ones with all the holes in the hole that creeped me out so freaking bad.
Mhm.
I hate those things. Oh,
You don't like holes, do
no,
you?
no, 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 no. That just creeps me the hell out. I was like, fast forward, fast forward, fast.
You're like, I
I did
can't
not
do
even
it.
want to watch it. It was creepy. I hated it. Every other mask
Um,
was cool.
but you're like,
That
Yeah,
no,
mask
not
creeped
that
me the hell
one.
out.
no. Do they ever say? Because some of the locals have these little, like, teardrop looking it's 2 little dots on their
Oh,
next to their eye. Did they ever say what that was? Because I saw them drawing it on the locals or not the tourist faces at one point at the
they were
resort. I wasn't sure.
they anointed them
Yeah,
with that, but I don't remember what it was. But it was for like whatever thing
that
was
It
that
happening.
was the
rain,
festival, yeah,
the
the
festival that
this
was happening. Yeah,
yeah, for
Yes.
they did
the
it at the breakfast.
that's
Yes.
right, yeah,
Yeah,
it was for the monsoon season was
yeah.
coming. Yeah.
Yes. There was a name for
Yeah.
it, but I don't remember what it was called. But
I think they was just called the wet sea I can't remember, whatever.
yeah, it's the rainy season,
Right.
guys. It's
Yeah.
happening. But yeah, they go into this house. They they get the people. They're naked. They tie them up. They're like getting the metal and everything. And I really like this moment where we have James and he's standing there and he has a gun, and those three are like tied up and sitting down, and it's kind of like, is he gonna do it? Is he gonna shoot them? Is he just gonna stand here? And then of course we have Mia come over and she's like, let me help you with that. You should shoot them. And then there's like this, there's a shootout that happens, and they're all back to be doubled. So yeah, all of this group, they're all back. I actually thought that scene was really funny when they all come back to get doubled, and the detective's like, this isn't some this isn't some game kind of thing, and blah blah blah.
This scene, oh my god. So this scene leading up to what happens next, they're all just talking like nothing happened basically with each other, and then the investigator comes in and they're like, "Oh, I can't believe how mistreated we've been. Like, no water for 2 hours? Ma'am, you just killed 3 people
I
and you're worried
know.
about water? Really?"
I know, but I love it. They're so like, they're so like, come on, like treating it like it is
Yeah.
like a spa trip,
Yep.
and
Yeah, and the investigator is like, "I'm gonna make a lesson out of you." And at that point, that's when I think that maybe they actually killed the real people because of that and let the
man.
clones live. So
Okay.
that's my theory. But again, not the point of the movie. That's just my theory.
Could be. And like the way that they set it up too, the way they shot it, at first as the audience, you're kind of like, oh, is that them? Are they literally just like gonna execute them now?
Right.
Because they
Yeah.
put them all up there, they put their heads down, looks like they're gonna get their heads chopped off.
Yeah.
And the
We don't
whole
see
way
any cloning process or anything.
nope, the whole way it plays out until you see like James get his throat slashed,
Right.
and then you see the audience and they're watching themselves
Yeah,
get
and they're
executed.
clapping. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're
So,
having a
yeah.
grand old time.
Yeah.
This is all
And then
just
they
really fun stuff.
yeah, and then James walks in to the hotel room where M's at, and he's got another fucking urn. Like,
Yeah.
It's like,
this is fine.
gotta stop coming back with these things, man.
This is
One
not
was
good.
too much. One was too much.
Right.
One is way too much, yeah. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
yeah. So M leaves.
Yeah, M's like, "I'm out, like, you stay here and deal with this, I can't." Like,
Yeah, and obviously James stays because of his missing passport, right? I really like that shot of him sitting in the chair and he's like smoking a cigar and he's wearing the mask still too. That's a great moment.
it
And
is.
then Gabby comes along as she does. As she does throughout this whole thing, and it's like, hey, come with me, it's raining, let's walk, let's go do something else. By the way, I have a hallucinogenic aphrodisiac of a drug that we should take.
Wonder what she wants.
Yeah, and it's like this twisted root thing, and you put it in a bowl and light it and like
Inhale it, yeah.
whiff it in, inhale it in, and she says to him like, I want you to show me how strong you are, or something like that.
Yep,
Bitch,
sure
I'm
did.
not showing you nothing. Nothing. You got me killed.
Tahoe!
You're right. You got me killed. Now you want me to do PCP with you? No. Sorry. I gotta go.
We
Nope.
got him killed not
Yeah.
once, but twice.
Yes, twice. You got me killed twice.
I got 2 urns in my hotel room.
Right. Let's work on a third.
know. But of course, James does just take a big old whiff of this stuff, and then what proceeds from here is like the long sequence that we were discussing earlier. There is colors, there is orgy, there is man on man, woman on woman, man on woman. Like I said, I saw a few dongs in there, and it
Saw a lot.
lasted.
Yeah.
Right. I was watching this in my living room. I was like, Jesus, I hope my son doesn't come out. He'd be like, Dad, what are you watching?
Yeah. That was one of my main takeaways. Was I was like, oh man, I saw at least like 5 dongs tonight. There's some crazy imagery going on in there, and I just remember being like, this is a long sequence. Like, it did go on
Really
for a
long
long time.
sequence.
Yeah, I was like, this is a really long sequence. It's still going. Everybody else came to the party.
Yeah, because initially it's literally just James and Gabby, and then like slowly the camera pans down and you see all these different people that are coming in and they're trading partners, and it's just a sequence of flesh and
Yeah.
more flesh and colors, and that's you can't even make out who's who at a certain point.
No.
Like it just starts blending together.
It's
As I'm sure
true.
it does for them too.
I'm sure. Everybody who was involved in this looked at about. They were probably in about the same state of mind. Yeah.
They were all high, yeah, for sure.
It was pretty awesome, though. It was pretty awesome. Okay. So they have some fun with all of that stuff, and then they're like, "Hey, let's go have some more fun. Let's go get the detective at the hospital now." Right?
Yeah,
And I'm
because
assuming.
supposedly, the investigator is preventing James from getting his passport to leave,
Yes.
which James could leave at any point, but sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
so they're like,
sure.
"Let's
Do
go
they
get
not
back
have?
at him."
Do they not have a U.S. embassy there? I
That's what
mean,
I'm saying,
I don't know.
because that's
you lose
literally
your
an example
passport,
that yeah, that's
go to the
literally what Jen
embassy,
says. Yes. I mean, it's a remote island. I would think they'd at least have something set up at the resort,
right?
They
'cause
had an
all these American citizens
office.
come. Yeah, I mean, Ethan, you've been to resorts. Do they have anything at the resort usually,
They
or is it
they do. You can go and they can get you to an embassy. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. And
They
not
I
had
mean,
only
if you
missing
that,
don't wanna
passports.
leave,
Yeah.
when
yeah.
you travel out of the country, you should have left a copy of your passport with somebody here. You should have a copy of your passport and your passport in case you do lose one.
Mm.
That had
Yeah.
nothing to do with the movie, but that's just tips for if you're traveling.
Yeah.
So
For all of you who are listening, if you're planning a trip out to a place like this, for
Don't leave the
one,
resort.
yeah, lots of things to keep in mind
If
while
you
you're
see a
planning.
hot chick that looks like Mia Goth, don't go with her.
Run. Yeah.
Run.
But
Don't
stay at the
listen to
resort.
her.
Yeah.
And don't take the aphrodisiac.
The
right?
drugs. It seems like a
Just
good
say
idea at
no.
first, guys, but say no. Say no.
Drugs are
Listen,
bad,
listen,
kids.
drugs are bad. Drugs are very
Yes.
bad.
Don't do it. Watch out. But yeah, so
Listen to
they
your dare officer.
exactly. Is Dare still a thing, by the way? Do they still have
Think
Dare
so.
officers? It was a huge thing when I was okay.
Me
Right.
too. Yeah.
Anyway, so they go to go get the investigator, detective, or whatever at the hospital because they're like, let's keep doing some crazy stuff, and he's standing in the way. And so the group all goes in to get him, and James is out there kind of standing watch and everything. And they bring back the detective, they do some more drugs, and they're like, yeah, James, have at it.
Go get him, James. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's literally just James, do it, James, go. Like that's yeah, and he urinates on him and
Yeah.
yeah, beats
And
the
it,
shit out of him.
yeah, and it really gives a whole new meaning to pissing oneself, because then they unveil that it's not the investigator, it's him, and he just pissed on himself and beat himself up.
Man, there's so many metaphors there.
Right?
I know, it really is. Yeah, I will say that I saw the end coming, what happens, because you have to anyway. But okay, so yeah, that freaks James out. He runs back to his room. And he's all like, "Hey, come on out of there. We're just playing
It's like,
a game."
yeah, James, you're being really boring right now, I think is what she says.
Yeah, and
Funniest part was when she's like, "We can get your clone and we can have a threesome." I was like,
and James
"What?"
Girl.
terrified and also really fucked up. So
Right?
he's really fucked up. Yeah.
It's like every time you think you find her crazy level threshold,
Right? She
Takes
just
it up
keeps
a
boom,
notch.
boom,
it.
boom,
Yeah.
boom.
Bam.
I can't remember what it's from, but there's like a crazy scale and a hot scale. And if the crazy outweigh, I think it's from How I Met Your Mother,
It
actually. If
is.
the
It
crazy
is.
outweighs the hotness, no. Just say no.
Yep. There's a point where they meet, and when that
Yeah.
point meets, you need to go.
Yeah. What about some
um,
Barney Stinson?
I know. I totally know that. But then we get this like great little twist too that James like has the passport. He like taped it onto the like sink or the toilet
Bathroom
or
sink,
something. Yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
he
he
takes
had it
it.
the
So
whole
then,
time.
ooh, and it's like, wait a minute. He always had his passport. He knew exactly what he was doing.
Yep.
Yeah.
What?
What
What
a
is
skis ball almost. Like he intentionally lied to his wife and made her stay in the country longer than she wanted when she felt unsafe. Like you're supposed to be taking care of her. Like,
And for good reason too.
Right.
That would kind of be a vacation ending like situation for me. Like first of all, being
oh
in
yeah.
hitting a guy, and just leaving them there to die in the road. That probably do it for me. But then this whole cloning thing, multiple cloning things, yeah, that would be kind of a vacation killer for me.
Right.
When he came back with the second urn, for sure, like hopping out on the next plane and we're getting a divorce. Like that's it. We're
Yeah,
done because you did it again. Like
yeah,
you did something bad enough to get that done again. Not okay.
good.
No.
But anyway, he gets on the shuttle and he's gonna be heading out. But our group has other plans because they
Sure do.
pull up next to the bus, being all crazy. Mia's being all crazy. It's awesome.
At this point in the movie, when I first watched it, I'm just like, I don't know how I feel about Mia Goth. Like this part, like she does such a great job. And I'm just like, oh man, how do you get into character for that, you know?
I know. I know.
Yeah.
Because she's shooting at the bus, she's degrading him, she's calling him all sorts of names, and she threatens everybody on the bus, like, if you don't send James out, we're going to kill you all individually, like one by one. So it's like he just gives himself up basically at that point.
Yeah, they like stopped. They like made like a roadblock with their
Yeah.
cars.
Yeah.
It's pretty serious. Pretty
Yeah.
serious. Everybody on the bus is very frightened for good reason.
Yeah.
So yeah, then Mia has they have James like walk out in front of the cars and they're going all slow behind him. I love that Mia is just like laying on the
Sitting on the hood of the car and drinking
With a
and just
bucket of chicken
degrading
next
him.
to her.
yeah,
Yeah, she's got
I know.
she's got chicken
Like
and a
KFC
bottle of
bucket.
Right?
wine. Yeah. And she's just like, I never read your book. You're so funny for thinking that we actually liked you. You were just a source of amusement for us. Like, just degrading him. Like, every single thing she says is so beyond hurtful. And it's like, wow, you know,
Yeah.
they were
Yeah.
never your friends. They just thought you were amusing. You were another spa treatment add-on feature,
Right.
basically. Yeah.
Yeah. If you didn't feel low already, James, like let us help you out a little bit. Make you
Yeah.
feel even worse.
And the way
Um,
she says his name is just so grating in her high-pitched voice and just like,
Yeah.
ah, yeah.
yeah.
And then she loses her bottle of wine.
I know. She's so I love her on the car. Like that it's amazing.
Yeah.
And obviously James runs and she shoots his leg and he's still running. And then he ends up at this house. And I when I saw the house and I saw the girls outside, I was like, wait, were they at the execution? Is this like the house of the guy that
Mhm.
he
Yeah.
killed?
Yeah.
And you don't really know because he has another like trippy, like psychedelic moment in there where he sees the kid who killed his double. And
Yeah.
there's like face smashing and like face stuff, and he sees
Yeah.
him. And
Yeah.
but then it's
Yeah.
hard to know like what actually happened because then there's nobody in the house when he actually wakes up.
I think it's just him feeling guilty. He's finally feeling guilty for what he did
Right.
Yeah.
because he knows that he was tricked into this the whole time. And this kid, like, he feels like the kid should have just killed him, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
So he's just having this dream of what should have happened. And yeah,
Guilt dreams.
it's
Yeah.
real. Yeah. And then we the kid's face like splits open and we see M's face, which is really jarring.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'll get into that more later.
Yeah. That whole thing was like, that whole sequence was crazy and cool. Like it was,
It was
yeah,
really cool.
it was really cool. It was kind of crazy. Okay. I said, oh, they're back. So, you know,
Yeah.
our group finds him and they have their cars and, you know, there's still something James has to do and he has to sacrifice the dog, kill the dog.
The
Right.
dog meaning a clone version of him, but on a leash and unable to speak for some reason. We don't know why. He's just behaving like a dog.
Yeah. He's in kind of like a feral state.
Feral state. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
And they're like, come on, James, you suck, you're baby. Fight the dog. Do it, fight the dog. They give the dog, which is our clone, drugs. And he has to fight himself, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. The dog basically initiates and then James defends himself.
Wrong dog.
Wrong dog.
Jack's my dog.
Oh, like you leave my dog out of this,
Right?
Sorry. Yeah.
And it's gnarly too. I mean, because like he doesn't want to do it at first, you know, but then like yeah, he attacks himself, and he like I mean he beats his face in like with
Very
his
reminiscent
fist.
of the dream that he had earlier, by
Yep.
the way. So
Mhm.
we'll
Yeah.
get into that later. Yeah.
And yeah, because he gets a little feral himself, like when he beats
Because
himself.
he doesn't stop. He just keeps
Yeah.
going.
Yeah. Yeah. And
And
yeah.
the caved in head is so beautiful. Like it's
That was awesome.
because they had to make a replica of Alex's head and just he crushed it in and it's so beautiful. The color of the blood in this movie is gorgeous
Yeah.
and they did such a great job. Like I cannot stress that enough. So
The
I
texture
love it.
is good. Like the texture of like the smashed face. They do
Yeah.
smashed face well in this
Yeah.
movie. They do it several times and they do it well.
They did a really good job. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, you know, of course, Mia likes that.
Of course she does.
Why wouldn't she?
Right. And yeah, it's like then you have this scene of like all the group, they're on the shuttle together, like everything's cool, like nothing ever happened, like this was just another vacation for them, you know?
They're talking about their plans once they get home. Gabby's just like, I'm gonna rearrange the furniture again, and they're making jokes because you know their life is so boring that she's got to rearrange the furniture anytime she gets bored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, all
And
right,
yeah,
Hey,
I
can
can't
we
imagine this woman rearranging furniture and living a normal life outside of this. I cannot.
yeah, I know.
Ethan,
Can we flip before we get on the bus after he killed the dog? I'm gonna breastfeed you now.
Yes.
oh yeah,
What?
yeah, I forgot about that.
I'm like I'm not
Yep.
that I'm looking at your boobs because they're great, but I'm like, what?
I wish I could have
Yeah,
seen them in a different context.
Right?
Yeah,
Other than smeared with blood and having maggots come
I
out of
know.
them, but that's nasty.
Yeah.
But I was like, I don't really understand the whole bloody maggoty tit thing, but it is
another
You know.
what it is.
hint at being reborn. She's the
Right.
mother. Yeah, all that.
Yep.
Right,
There is-
I got that part of it, but why do you have a maggot in your nipple?
Yeah, I don't know what the point of the maggot was.
No, I was a little
No.
confused, but
I
all
think
right,
just to creep people out,
I was like, I
honestly.
think it was just
It
to be
worked.
gross, and it
it
worked.
worked.
It was
Yeah.
cool.
It was cool, but it was gross.
Exactly.
Also, James apparently is talking to Em again. He's planning on returning home and he's acting like, they're acting like everything's fine.
Right.
Clearly it's not, and
No.
he's got another urn with him.
Yeah.
So, he's got 3 total urns.
Yeah.
It's a lot. That's again 3 too many urns.
3
Right.
too many. Yeah.
3 too many. But yeah, James gets to the airport and he's sitting there and then he's sitting there and then he's sitting there and he didn't get on the plane at all. And
He
he's
goes back to the resort, yeah.
sitting in the rain.
And rainy season has commenced and he's just stayed behind.
Yeah.
And that's it.
So before I get into my symbolism bullshit, uh, I gotta ask you guys, why do you think he stayed behind?
I've been thinking about this, and it's like part of me is just like, I'm like, I don't want to believe that he's like maybe a clone, and the real him got killed. I don't want to believe that because I'm like, well, it's about his journey and everything, right? But I don't know. I feel like maybe he just got, after everything that's happened, he's just past that point of like no return.
He just doesn't know what to do with himself, basically.
Yeah. Or he's just like giving in to the reality of what he is now and where he's supposed to be.
Or he wants to stay there and be the new Mia Goth, so
He's
he
just
can be the
waiting.
one who's in charge.
There we
That's a
go.
good idea.
Or he just didn't want to go home to his bitch wife.
Is that
How
too?
hard is it to get a divorce? I mean, she's gonna get everything. You know they had a prenup.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sure.
There's no way Daddy let them get married without a prenup.
Yeah, no way.
See, he should just have her come back and visit and get another urn.
Yeah, there you go. Keep on adding to
Divorce
the
is
collection.
final.
I'm sure there's a clause in there too if she dies. It's fine. All right, so let me get into the symbolism jargon
Okay.
for the people that like that. This is from a website I found. It's not from anybody related to the film, so I'm just gonna read what I found. Take it as you will. This is just one person's interpretation. I thought it was interesting, so I'm sharing. All right. So the urns, the representation of those. Okay, so by the end of the film, he has 3 urns packed in a suitcase, ready to take home with him. One is the stagnant James that we initially meet, who came to the island. Okay. The second one represents the hedonist who fell in love with Gabby. And the third is the dog, the feral version, that Gabby has James fight to the death, basically. Each urn makes a different aspect of his psyche, a different part of his being that has been removed, judged, and destroyed, and leaves us with the question, who is James now? So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The rainy season representation. The initial reading of this seems representative of depression or retreating or giving up. But you could make the case that a rainy season is just that, a season. Like winter, it's a low point, a time that's inhospitable and limiting. There's another side to the coin, though. Limitation and isolation allow for rest and reflection, recuperation, regrouping, so that when the snow melts or when the clouds clear, you're able to reconnect with the world, refreshed and renewed. It's possible that Infinity Pool's use of the rainy season implies something similar, that James has opted to end his marriage and go through a season of rain, so to speak, before recovering and beginning a new chapter of his life. So, when I initially watched this movie, I had a similar interpretation to what you guys said, where he's kind of just given up. He doesn't want to continue and he doesn't know how to go back to normal life. So he's just going to stay there and, wait for the tourist season to come back basically and just keep doing the violent stuff or maybe even try to convince people not to do that anymore. But after reading this, it kind of maybe there's some glimmer of hope that James has kind of learned from his experiences and might be changing and, becoming a better person, hopefully. Who knows? I think it's up to the person who watches it, but
Right.
that made me feel a little bit more optimistic after watching this really depressing movie.
And see me, I'm always just like, oh no, end of the story is gonna be like,
I know.
man fucked up, man
I
is
really
a
like dark
mess.
endings, but
I
this,
do
like,
too.
oh,
So I'm like, I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know about James. Like, I don't know what's next for him, man.
And honestly, I think at this point he doesn't either, and he's not quite ready to leave.
Right.
I think he just
Yeah.
needs to be alone. So maybe
Right.
that's why.
Just
Yeah.
need some time with his urns on the beach.
Right. Some
I
time to
really
reflect.
wish he could have been sitting like cross-legged on the beach with all 3 urns just in front of him. Like,
Yeah.
the Tom Hanks movie where he's just
Playing
on an
cards.
island by himself.
Go fish.
Yeah. He draws a face
Having
on one of
tea.
them. Yeah. It's fine. He's fine.
He's having
It's
a great
fine.
time. Look at he's
Sure.
out at the pool.
he's just learned more about himself, and now he's hanging out with all 3 versions, okay?
There you
Yeah.
go.
He's
Yeah.
inspired now.
Let's hope his writing is a little bit better in the future.
Yeah.
Alright, let's jump into some fun facts. I got a few.
Okay.
Alright. So, it is rumored that Robert Pattinson was offered the lead role, but decided not to continue with it. Can't imagine why.
Well, his loss, okay, but I love me some of our actor who was actually in this. That's Alexander, right? Alexander
Yeah.
Alexander
Skarsgård.
Skarsgård, yeah.
I'm a
He's nice eye
fan.
candy, yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, okay with that. But
I
Robert Patterson, okay,
I think he was doing Batman around this time, so understandable why he passed, yeah.
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 Everyone seemed to like that movie, so good for him, I guess.
I haven't seen it, so I'm like, oh.
Don't.
Okay. People liked it. I didn't watch it.
I think he did great. I wasn't a fan of the stuff they did with the Catwoman, but that's just me. Anyways, this
Oh.
is horror, not
Anyway.
superhero shit. Uh, so despite this was a Canadian film, and most Canadian like films don't get a wide release in Canada and the US. Despite that, it was unfortunately a big box office failure.
Yeah.
So they didn't do well. I honestly don't remember seeing a lot of trailers for it at the time. I just knew about it because I followed Mia Goth on Facebook and Instagram. So that's how I found out about it. Um, yeah, they really did a poor job of promoting this movie. But yeah.
Yeah.
Um, it made more money in its first week than his father's film, Crimes of the Future, did in its entire theatrical run.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's that.
I still haven't seen Crimes of the Future. I've been meaning to because Viggo Mortensen's in it, and I really like him. And is it
It's not
Cronenberg?
it's not bad. It's different than some of the other things I've seen him in. I thought Kristen Stewart was phenomenal. I thought she was hilarious.
Okay. You know
And I don't
what?
like
Okay.
Kristen Stewart. So
I don't
if
like
I
her,
yeah.
but occasionally she does like really good stuff. Occasionally.
Yeah.
So, okay.
I just think that in the past she's had a tendency to pick poor projects for her, like
Yeah.
Twilight. But other things that she's done have been good, usually independent movies. So,
Yeah, that's what I mean. I was like, I've seen her in some independent stuff that she was good in it. And I was like, oh,
yeah.
wow. Like, I was like, I don't know, this girl's not a very good actress, but I was just thinking of Twilight, I think. And then I saw another stuff and I'm like, oh, I liked that movie. She was good in that. Okay.
I thought she was hilarious every time she came on, so that's just me, but yeah, I thought Crimes of the Future was overall kind of forgettable, but watch it for Kristen Stewart, and I'll never say that
Oh,
again, so
okay.
Oh. Alright, so, originally, this film was rated NC-17 for some graphic violence and sexual content. After, can't imagine why, right?
I
Right?
know. What are
It's
they?
so tame.
What were they on hallucinogenic aphrodisiac drugs when they rated this?
They do that so much. Yeah. After an unsuccessful appeal for an R, Neon, the company, they edited the film to get the desired rating. The uncut version was screened at Sundance, while the edited version was released in theaters. Um, yeah, so the NC-17 version is now called uncut or unrated.
Mhm.
It's not much different than the R. I've seen both versions. I saw the R version in theaters and the
Oh, okay.
uncut version recently. I can't tell the difference. I honestly think it's just like lingering shots here or there because that honestly is enough to get an NC-17.
Yeah,
Just
it
lingering
is.
shots
Yeah.
on genitals.
Yep.
So I'm pretty sure that's all it is. If you want a detailed breakdown of the differences, that can be found at movie/censorship.com. So they're really great at
Oh.
that kind of
Okay.
thing.
I
Yeah.
am gonna
They
have to look at that now because they'll be like, "Okay, you remember that one guy who was in the sequence at that one part? Now he was between that other guy and then her. They show him for like 2 more
what's
seconds."
what's great about that site, they literally have images, the stills of the scenes, so they break it down side by side. So
Wow.
yeah, I'll put a link to that specifically in the comments of our show, so that way
Okay.
you guys can
Cool.
access it easier. Yep. The tagline for this movie is "Find out what kind of creature you are," which I like a lot.
I like that too.
And the inspiration for this movie, because, apparently more than one person was looking for their inspiration during this movie. This is a direct quote from Brandon Cronenberg, from a 2023 interview with Fangoria. So he spoke about a real life vacation experience that inspired the film, right?
Mhm.
The film started as a short story just about the first execution. And as I was expanding it into a feature, I kept going back to a vacation I went on about 20 years ago to an all inclusive resort in the Dominican Republic. It was surreal because they would bus you in the middle of the night, so you couldn't see any of the country. They would
Mhm.
just drop you in the resort compound, which was in fact surrounded by a razor wire fence. You couldn't leave, much like in the film, and there was a kind of fake town where you could go shopping. The Chinese restaurant and the horrible discotheque in the movie are both based on the actual resort. The
Ugh.
scene with the man on the ATV on the beach being chased by guards actually happened. And then at the end of the week, they bust you back during the day, and you could see the actual immediate surrounding country, which was very poverty stricken.
Mhm.
There were people living in shacks. That contrast was obviously horrible, but also surreal because you realized you had never actually entered the country. You were just dropped into this strange pocket of a sort of alternate dimension that had just grown up to become this tacky Disneyland mirror image of reality.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
That checks. Like
that,
with the
Yep.
movie,
yeah,
that checks. Yeah.
that that checks compared. I had a friend that went to Jamaica, and they said they had a very similar experience when
Yep.
Same.
they weren't limited to staying at the resort. They could go off, but it was highly discouraged, and they did go off the resort,
Yep.
and they went back almost immediately. They didn't want to be around any of that. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
if you go to a resort like that, stay at the resort, be safe
Absolutely.
because you
Mhm.
are protected at the resort.
Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely. I was in Kingston, Jamaica, and
That's where she went. Yeah.
yeah, in Kingston,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and we had razor wire and big walls around us, and
Yeah.
the restaurant didn't open until like 7, and I was up at 5 and wanted coffee. So I went to the garden. I was like, I want to walk right across, literally right across the street. I'm like, to go get coffee. They're not open yet. And he goes, I can't let you go. And I was like,
Wow.
dude, grown man,
Yeah.
I want to go get coffee. He said,
Coffee.
if you're insisting on going, hold on. And he radioed and had security, like with an M16, walk me across the street,
Wow.
get coffee, and walk me back in. He's like, please do not leave. I was like, you got it,
Wow.
dude.
Wow.
Honestly, after that, I'd be like, "Never mind." I'd just be like, "Nah, it's okay. I don't want coffee that bad."
Oh, and see me, I'd be like, okay, I still want the coffee, but I will call
Right?
you to help me get it.
Yeah.
Can you go get the coffee for me?
I'll stay here.
Yeah.
I'll just stay.
Yeah, no, it's
Wow.
I've heard like the juxtaposition of like you have this like resort, which is like Disneyland. I mean, it's
Yeah.
pristine and
Yeah.
beautiful and everything, but then you just right next door, you basically have a lot of poverty and
Yeah.
yeah,
It's very sad.
It
yeah.
is.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into rating this movie. Um, Jamie, what did you think?
Okay, so this was a first time watch for me. I thought it was really interesting. Like I will say, once we actually got into the plot about the double, like how you can get a double made, I thought that was really cool. I really liked
Hmm.
that plot. You don't really see
Yeah.
that too often.
No,
It's a really cool idea to play around with. And
for
again,
sure.
that whole question of like, did they kill the right James though? That really gets into your head and it makes you have all these questions, and I really liked that. Really liked the actors in it. The crazy sequences were cool. Like, they're wild,
Yeah.
but it was cool. It was different. All that being said, it kind of falls in the middle for me. So I'm gonna give it like a 6. I thought it was good. The cinematography was awesome. We didn't really talk about it, but I actually like the music too.
Yeah, the music was
Yeah.
really good. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
probably not one that I'll revisit all that often. It's not one of those kind of like, yeah, I'm just gonna throw an infinity pool today.
Right.
It's not one of those, but I would definitely watch it again because I feel like the next time that I watch it, I'll probably pick up on some different like things. I'll
For
probably pick up
sure.
on more like symbolism and imagery since now I have all the information. I can kind of
Yeah,
like go back and start to see little things and be like, oh, okay, I see the symbolism there.
for sure. And
Yeah.
on the second watch, I really enjoyed like knowing what was going to happen. I like to look at Mia and all the other characters to kind of gauge their reaction to James and stuff because obviously they know everything that's about to happen. So it was really fun to kind of see their acting, low key and kind of get the little glances between characters to
Right.
see what they're thinking almost. And it's I
Totally
like I like looking for that kind of thing. I think there's so many layers to acting like that.
agreed.
Yeah.
Ethan.
Well, this was a first watch for me as well. I also really like the actors in it, and every time I seen Alexander Skarsgård, however the hell you say his last name, but I was
Mhm.
like, dude, you're a vampire.
Yeah, I
Just kill all
know.
these people. I'm like, you're Eric Northman, bite them.
I
I
know.
had, I had to separate the two, but I was like, okay. Anyway, it was really good. The cinematography was excellent. The use of colors, all that. The kills were really good too. I really
Yeah,
enjoyed
they
The
them.
were.
effects were good.
Yeah, the effects
Lots
were
of body
awesome.
horror. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
lots of body horror. With that being said, as well, I would say it's probably a 6 for me. Yeah, somewhere in the middle. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen. I won't watch it next week. I'll probably watch it again at some point, but like you said, it's not one that I'm going to be like, let's just throw this on while I clean the house, or yeah, that's not going to happen. So, but
Yeah,
it's if you haven't seen it, it's worth a watch. Yeah,
for
Definitely.
sure.
it's worth a watch. So,
Definitely.
Don't watch it when you're already depressed.
no, or high,
Or I was gonna say, or if you're on hallucinogens.
yeah,
Do not take hallucinogenic
no.
aphrodisiacs before watching this movie. You have been warned.
We've said it once, we'll say it again. Drugs are bad.
Drugs are bad, just say no,
Drugs are bad.
Okay, you kids be careful out there.
right?
All right, Nina, give us a rating.
Yeah.
All right. So, I've seen this movie like 2 or 3 times now. I think I watched it twice and then tried to watch it a third time and I just couldn't. W with that being said, I did end up buying a digital copy of the movie because it was on sale. It was like $7, so I was like, "All right,
Hey.
sure." And I bought the uncut version, not knowing the difference. Anyways, it doesn't really matter which version you watch. If you want the uncut, whatever, but there really is no difference. I really like this movie. I think, I hadn't seen any of his previous work. I've seen his father's, obviously, but I had not seen his. I've heard some of his other movies are very similar in tone, so there's
Mhm.
that. Um, Very beautiful movie, very well shot, very well acted. It's great. Like, it's a great movie. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just very depressing and not the kind of depressing that I usually look for in depressing movies, if that makes any sense.
It does.
It does.
With that being said, I'm also giving it a 6.
Ooh.
I really enjoyed this movie, but it's not one I'm going to revisit. I'll maybe throw it on if somebody is like, I'm a Cronenberg fan and they've never seen it. I'll be like, we have to watch this. You'll love
Right.
it. I mean, you might not, but you'll enjoy it if
Yeah.
you like his father's work. So, yeah, it's a 6 for me. I think it's a good movie. It's just not one that's going to be revisited very often because it is very depressing, but it is
Yeah.
beautiful and it's fun to watch. So,
Oh yeah. I'm glad I
Agreed.
watched it. It
Oh,
was
yeah,
definitely.
it was definitely an experience. I saw some things I wasn't expecting to see.
for sure.
I learned some things about this hallucinogenic aphrodisiac. Not saying I'm looking for it, because that'd be bad, guys, but
No.
crazy. Just
I like
kidding.
to
I'm
be
not
in
looking for
control
it.
of my body at all times,
Want
so
it.
I'm good.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So that's Infinity Pool.
Yeah.
All right. With that, we're not telling you what we're doing next week or the following week. You'll find out next episode because we don't even know half the
Surprise.
time. And be sure to like, follow, subscribe. And I'm Nina,
I'm Jamie.
And I'm Ethan.
and we are Bloody Essentials. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.